Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. Have we looked at this book? I think I forgot to look at it. I was tidying up around my office. I was actually looking for a notebook where I had a whole bunch of notes written on something. I can't find it. But I found this book that I ordered a while ago, and I don't think I ever looked through it, which is crazy. So I thought maybe we could just take a look at it. I just took a burning hot shower because I'm freezing. I keep complaining about the cold. It's not going away. I don't understand. Do you ever take such a hot shower that the beds of your fingers turn white? What does that mean? It's like this would all be just bright white. Like, what does that mean? I'm starting to wonder if I have low iron or something. I don't know. Like, why am I so cold? Anyway, this is a book called How They Croaked: The Awful Ends of the Awfully Famous by Georgia Bragg and illustrated by Kevin O'Malley. I just thought we could look through it for fun. I haven't really done that. It's from copyright 2011. So not a brand new book. I think when I first got it, I may have kind of just looked through it, but warning, if you don't have the guts for gore, do not read this book. So that's a warning to all of you. If you don't want to hear something that could be gory. It says, remember when you watched Bambi for the first time and you got to the part where Bambi's mom died? That's the saddest thing in the world. It is so gut-wrenchingly sad. And this sweet movie about a family of deer turns into a horror flick. How You Croaked is like reliving Bambi's mom's death over and over. Oh my God. King Tut. Back up the U-Haul. So here is, I guess, King Tut in a, I don't know, what do you call that? A chariot? I'm not sure. A horse. King Tut is more famous for being dead than alive. He was a blip in Egyptian history until 1922, when some explorers hit pay dirt and found his 3,000-year-old mummy nestled inside a giant sarcophagus. That sounds like a human body part, but it's just a fancy word meaning stone box for a dead body. These grave-robbing explorers broke into Tut's tomb and took all his gold. And there was a lot of it because King Tut definitely planned on being king in the afterlife. So when he died, he was only 19. He was born in Egypt in 1342. King Tut. He was my very favorite donkey. What he didn't plan on was being probed, sliced, dismembered, x-rayed, scanned, and drilled for his DNA. Oh my gosh. Hold on. There's a Cooper cat hair on my microphone and it's like tickling my face. Sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry if that's bugging you. I can't get it off here. Come here. I tried to get Cooper to sit with us, but he was like, no thanks. What does this say? It says pictures of a bird, 2 hooks, a comb, an arrow, a sandal strap, and a couple of speed bumps. Spell Tutankhamun. I know how to say that. I don't know why my brain. Tutankhamun. Anyway, in hieroglyphs. Today we just call him King Tut. He is also called the Boy King. He got to be king of Egypt when he was 9 years old. He was 10 when he married, I don't know how to say this, Enkhasunamam, who unfortunately was his half-sister, which was okay back then, but would totally be really wrong now. Besides ruling Egypt, Tut did regular kid things like riding in chariots, throwing sticks, and firing his slingshot, and then poof, he died. Well, this isn't really about how he croaked. This is about what they did after the fact, right? Okay, so they believed in afterlife so that Tut wouldn't rot on the trip to the next life. The embalmers scooped his insides out from top to bottom. To get his brains out, get ready, a long bronze needle with a hook on the end was shoved up his nose. His brain was broken up into teeny bits and pulled out one piece at a time. The Egyptians believed the brain's only job was to keep the ears apart and that the heart did all the thinking. That's interesting. I've never heard that. They didn't take Tut's teeth, nails, or eyeballs. They left Tut's heart in his body because he was going to need that to think. And they left his genitals so no one would mistake him for Queen Tut. Next, they cut open Tut's stomach and pulled out whatever they could get their hands on, like his liver, stomach, lungs, and 22 feet of intestines. Everything was washed, dried, and put into 4 jars, wrapped to go with him. They stuffed his chest with wads of cloth. Embalming's like kind of fascinating, like really, it's crazy. Tut's cadaver gave new meaning to the word stiff and stinky. So it was smeared with scented goo to make it smell better and to make it feel less like Tut jerky. They put half a football field of fabric and strips spun around his body like cotton candy, along with 143 charms woven in for good luck. To seal everything, they poured warmed plant resin or sap all over Tut's wrapped body. Think super glue. Meanwhile, servants picked up a few of his kingly things from the palace, including a couple of thrones, 2 slingshots, 2 jars of honey, 6 chariots, 30 golden statues, 35 model boats, 130 walking sticks, 427 arrows, and lots of sandals. So they buried Tut in the desert known as Valley of the Kings, and there he rested undisturbed for 3,000 years until 1922, when Howard Carter, an English guy, dug him up. Interesting. In 1968, experts x-rayed Tut's mummy to figure out how he had died. They noticed Tut's breastbone, genitals, 1 thumb, and a few ribs were missing. The x-ray also showed that his vertebrae were fused together and his skull was misshapen. They analyzed the facts and announced King Tut was murdered. I don't know. What was it now? Breastbone, genitals, 1 thumb, and a few ribs were missing. I thought they said they left his genitals. I thought we read that. Wait, didn't they? Am I crazy? To make sure we knew it was him, not his wife. Okay. The vertebrae were fused together and his skull was missing. Historians took the murder theory and fit the facts to the crime. That happens sometimes with crime scene investigation. Egyptologists had a new angle. History books were rewritten and museum exhibits were revamped. Tut stayed put for 10 more years until scientists removed him from the stone box again in 1978. He was still dead. I feel like I remember reading the National Geographic. I used to love National Geographic when I was about 8, 12 years old. Surprise, surprise. But I loved mummies. They took more x-rays, but never published their findings. And from a bone sample, they analyzed his blood. Tut's blood types were A2 and MN. We did a video on blood types, but I don't remember that. In 2005, there was new equipment to try out on Tut, a CT scan. I guess I do remember the cover of National Geographic having a mummy on it. I thought it was around that time. Maybe not. Maybe it was 2005. In 2005, there was new equipment to try out on Tut. Okay, a CT scan, which is way better than an x-ray. That was the first time anyone got a good look at what Carter forgot to mention after his so-called autopsy. He had broken off Tut's arm and legs and sliced Tut's chest down the middle. Carter also chiseled Tut's head off to get it free from the solid gold mask and to get Tut's 143 good luck charms. No. Carter cut the body wrapping with an X-Acto blade. Afterward, he glued Tut back together with wax and put the mangled mummy in a bed of sand. He didn't bother to reattach Tut's genitals, thumb, or ribs. He just buried them in the sand. He was just another tomb raider after all. The CT scan showed that Tut had an overbite, a small cleft palate, and a bend in his spine. But there was something else. Tut had a broken leg, and this one was not Carter's doing. The boy king got a new obituary. Tut died of a broken leg that got infected. Tell you, infections used to be like so deadly. I think my cat bite infection may have killed me if it were pre-antibiotics, you know. It was right here. Look how much better it looks. I finished the antibiotics. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there's a little tiny, I feel like it shouldn't hurt at all. Those antibiotics did a number on me. You know, I'm allergic to penicillin. So they gave me 2 doxycycline and one that starts with an M, I forget. The one that starts with an M, that knocked me out, man. I've never felt that way. I wasn't great. Oh, this is what we looked at before, I think. Things to do with old mummies. Pharaohs and millions of common people were mummified in ancient times. Later, mummies were shipped by the ton all over the world for other uses, including mummy medicine. For hundreds of years, doctors believed burned and pulverized mummies made into oils and powders could cure abscesses, coughs, epilepsy, fractures, palpitations, paralysis, poisoning, rashes, and ulcers. Yeah, they used to have so many mummies. There were tons of mummies, and they just grind them up. Side effects of swallowing mummy medicine: serious vomiting, evil smelling breath. Is that true? Or is that made up? Mummy paper. Every mummy has at least 30 pounds of cloth around it. Used mummy cloth was made into brown butcher paper in the mid-1800s for packaging meat, unbeknownst to shoppers. Why on earth? But fairly soon, mummy paper was discontinued after an outbreak of cholera among the workers at the paper mill. Am I going to have to look this up? Because why? Why would that be easier or better than just paper? I guess in Egypt, maybe there aren't as many trees to make paper pulp. I don't know. That's crazy. Mummy paint. Ground up mummy produced a deep brown favored by romantic painters 1790s to 1850s. There were problems with this paint. It never dried. It dripped down the painting in hot weather. It contracted and cracked in cold weather. It ruined any color under, over, or near it. Yeah, it sounds like terrible paint. Mummy eyeballs. Mummy eye sockets look empty. I'm sorry, it's like there's a cat hair or something that keeps tickling my cheek. It's making me itch. Anyway, mummy eye sockets look empty, but they're not. Eyeballs shrink to almost nothing during the drying process. The empty-looking sockets were sometimes filled with cloth, onions, or stones and painted to look like eyeballs. If mummy eyeballs are rehydrated, they return to almost normal size. What? That's crazy. King Tut under glass. Tut's mummy was removed from its sarcophagus and placed in a climate-controlled glass case in Tut's tomb, which was open for viewing for the first time in 2007. The mummy has been examined 5 times in the past, but only now is the public able to view it. Wonder. Julius Caesar. I did a video on the Ides of March one time. Yikes. He was a Roman statesman, born in Rome, Italy, July 13th, 100 BC. Died in Rome, Italy, March 15th of 44 BC at 56 years old. But the eye in the Ides of March. Yeah, I did a video about that maybe a year and a half ago, I guess. You can probably find it under the playlist for educational, maybe. Julius Caesar was cut out of his mother with a knife during a medical birthing procedure that is known today as a cesarean section. There you go. It seems like it should have been called a Coterian section after his mother, Aurelia Cota. Yeah, but instead Caesar got all the glory. And that, in part, describes how Julius Caesar made his way through life. Caesar was always saying, I came, I saw, I conquered, and I draw blood. Caesar survived 50 battles in far-off lands, only to die in his hometown at the hands of political riffraff in Rome. I like the way this pages have the skull and crossbones with the page number. I think that's fun. It was said he's tall for a Roman. That's code for not tall. Caesar was, however, intelligent, charismatic, and fast to action. He could rally crowds of men to grab their sandals and follow him off to sack yonder towns. His battle cry was happiness. He loved everything military, the camping, the training, and the killing. Caesar paid his men well and made soldiering a real career. Caesar was into self-promotion before the concept was invented. He wrote 10 books about his fabulous life and called them his history books. And he made his own birthday holiday. I didn't know all that. That was not in my Ides of March video. Caesar went to Egypt to take over the place, but he met Cleopatra, and his plans changed. He kind of liked her, and he really liked all her gold. They had a son together, and they named him Little Caesar just like the pizza restaurant. Caesar had 3 wives, but none of them were Cleopatra. Doesn't mean he had 4 wives. Caesar had 3 wives, but none of them were Cleopatra. Okay, strange sentence. The Roman Senate didn't want just one person to rule Rome, so Caesar was part of a 3-man team called a triumvirate. Okay, that lasted a nanosecond because Caesar didn't like to share very much. After a civil war, Caesar said, "I am dictator for life," which was quite a horse pill for the senators to swallow, including Caesar's good friend, Brutus. Yes, Brutus. Then Caesar said, "I'm Mr. Nice Dictator." He forgave his enemies, which was a big deal because normally it was so much easier to kill than to forgive. Some people still feel that way. It says in parentheses. Caesar lowered mortgage rates, gave away land, and built new settlements for veterans when they returned from war. The only thing was he didn't pass these reforms by the Senate first. I'm reading wrong. I think my brain's tired or something. The senators were just a bunch of rich guys, and they wanted to keep everything for themselves. They decided that Caesar had to be stopped. He was getting too big for his toga and was a traitor to his class. 60 senators, including his pal Brutus, hatched a plan. Caesar was scheduled to meet with the Senate on March 15th, a date the Romans called the Ides of March. Legend has it, Caesar decided to skip the Senate meeting because a fortune teller had told him, "Beware the Ides of March." I feel like I'm 13, 14. Okay, it feels thick. But when Brutus went to Caesar's house and acted all buddy-buddy to make sure Caesar would show up. Sorry, but then Brutus. I don't know why I can't read today. When Caesar entered the Senate hall, the conspirators moved in on him like hyenas, circling a zebra they're about to eat for lunch. One senator grabbed Caesar's robe and pulled it down off his shoulder, making Caesar's back an easy target for another senator to thrust his dagger into. Attacking Caesar from behind should have been a no-brainer, but the guy either was petrified or needed glasses because the knife barely grazed Caesar's shoulder. Within seconds, the wall of senators pulled hidden daggers from the pleats of their tunics. Caesar saw his friend Brutus and said, "You too, Brutus." Brutus stared wildly, swinging his dagger in Caesar's direction. All 60 senators were supposed to get a stab at Caesar, so no one man could be blamed. Outnumbered 60-1, even the great Caesar didn't stand a chance. He was stabbed in the legs, the back, the groin, the face, and the eyes. He pulled his toga up over his head and fell to the ground with 23 stab wounds. The remaining 37 senators didn't need to bother. Wow. The killers waited for Caesar to bleed to death on the floor. They didn't have a post-assassination strategy except to bolt out the door. Nobody wanted to be caught dead with a dead Caesar. The assassins thought they'd be heroes. Out in the streets, they proclaimed that Caesar was a tyrant and that Rome would be better off without him. But the citizens of Rome weren't buying it. Caesar's body lay abandoned in a bloody heap for most of the day. 3 servants eventually carried his remains to his house. Everybody came out to watch the bloody corpse go by. Now angry, seething crowd was forming. Military men who had served under Caesar were outside with their swords, ready to kill the assassins. The murderous senators holed up together for the night and made a new plan while a riotous crowd took over Rome. The guilty and nervous senators decided to ratify all of Caesar's projects. They also decreed, "Don't kill the assassins." Nice decree. A gilded shrine was constructed for Caesar's coffin in the center of town, and the murdered corpse was placed inside. The Romans went crazy. Caesar's shrine was set on fire. Everything that wasn't nailed down was thrown in to stoke the fire. I'm kind of confused. If they loved him, why are they... Like, they're making it sound like the people really liked him. And the senators decided to put a shrine, but then they burnt it. I don't remember this all. Everything that wasn't nailed down was thrown in to stoke the fire. The gigantic funeral pyre burned for hours until only a mound of ashes was left. Caesar had survived wars, battles, and treks to far-flung lands, only to be killed in Rome, Italy, in March 15th, 44 BC by his peers. Beware the Ides of March indeed. In his will, Caesar gave his personal garden to the people of Rome, and he left money to every citizen. Wow. The Ides of March were bad luck for Caesar's assassins, too. Not one of them survived the next year. They were all hunted down and murdered. I didn't know that. I don't think that's crazy. Autopsy. Look at the little beetle bugs. There's like, what are those like scarab beetles? I don't know. And then there's all these tombstones down here. It says R.I.P. All these little tombs. Autopsy. The first recorded forensic autopsy, an examination of a dead body to find out the cause of death, was performed on Caesar. Dr. Antistius, determined that of Caesar's 23 stab wounds, only one in his chest was fatal. Caesar would have survived the other 22 or died from infection. You don't know. Autopsies have been performed for thousands of years. But the 1400s, it was a crime to dissect a human body. But that didn't stop anatomy students, the so-called body snatchers, from stealing corpses. In the 1500s, the Catholic Church accepted autopsies as a learning tool. Technological advancements like MRI and CT scans make most autopsies unnecessary today. Is that true? Because on TV, they still show them like cutting people. I don't know. Autopsy rates 50% of all deaths up until 1950, 20% in 1970, and now 0 to 5%. I didn't know that. Why were they doing so many in the 50s, or why are they doing so few now? I don't know. Calendar. The Roman calendar of Caesar's time was only 355 days long. 10 days short per year quickly added up to snow in the summer. In 46 BC, Caesar made the year 365 days long, with an added day every fourth year known as a leap year. He named the new calendar after himself, the Julian calendar, but it was still 7 minutes off. In 1600 years, those 11 minutes added up to snow in the summer again. I think I did a video all about this too. In 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th fixed the problem and put the snow back in winter once and for all with a new leap year rule. Years that are divisible by 4, but not by 100, are leap years. It's a lot harder than it sounds. He renamed it the Gregorian calendar after himself. This is the calendar that we use today. Things named after Caesar. July. Julius Caesar was born in the month of Quintilis. It was renamed July after Julius. Calendar. Julian calendar. Okay. Roman leaders. Every Roman leader after him is named Caesar somebody or another. That's kind of interesting to know. It's like Pharaoh. It's like Caesar. Czar. Russian leaders were named Tsar, which comes from Caesar. I didn't know that. If I did, I forgot. Kaiser. German leaders were named Kaiser, I'm not sure, which comes from Caesar. C-section, cesarean section births. Things not named after Caesar. Caesar salad originated in 1920 by Caesar Cardini. Of course, he was named after Julius Caesar. I was about to say. All right, well, we'll have to look at this some more next time. We'll clear patches next. Hope you enjoyed that. How they groped the awful ends of the olive. Warning, if you don't have the guts for gore, do not read this book. Maybe I'll read up on Cleopatra and then just do a video.